What's up, disciplined investor?
We got Benzinga CEO Jason Raznick here with us.
The man, the myth, the legend, Tom Nash.
Peter Schiff on the Power Hour with us live today. Interesting, different, unique, innovative companies. Nia, you are live with us on the Power Hour. What's up?
Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Jessica Billingsley, that is the CEO of Aperna. The best trade idea resource out there.
What is up, Zinger Nation? Happy Monday. You know what that means. The markets are back open. We're trading. It's lunchtime. How's everyone doing? Drew, how you doing?
Doing quite well myself. Thank you for asking. Hope you're doing well as always. You know, in the chat, we see some interesting things being thrown out. We see Bitcoin, we see Wish, we see a few other tickers, and the market is shaping up to a pretty interesting spot right here. Are you following the crypto markets at all?
Yeah, I saw we kind of had a big leg down overnight. I think Bitcoin and Ethereum both opened about 8% lower today. Let me see if we can get that pulled up in trusty old Benzinga Pro. Bitcoin to USD. I mean, I don't know how you're feeling about it, Drew, but I'm a little worried about Bitcoin at its current levels. I feel like we could see some more hurt in the crypto market overall as this kind of transition from all the mining happening in China. They're kind of looking in other places, seeing where they can do it. I feel like until we get something figured out, there could be some more hurt in the short term.
Yeah, for sure. That was some interesting news coming, right? Mining kind of being disrupted in China. Some people are saying that could be a good thing because, maybe it's more decentralized now. It's hard to say what will really happen in the grand scheme of things, so I'm personally not too worried. But we'll see where it goes. It's definitely at a key level. This 30K, 32K has been talked about quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. You kind of got to look at the time horizons that you're looking at. So, if you're looking long term, sure, you can still feel bullish Bitcoin, but I'm looking more in the short term. That 30K level, that's going to be really important. If it drops below 30K and stays below 30K for a minute, that's when I think we could really see some hurt. But if it can hang around this support level, then who knows?
For sure. And then Wish.com is absolutely rallying right now, right? So I talked about this a lot on Friday when I was in the office. I talked about it, and people are like, I don't know if it's good, if it's going to move. It's kind of like a meme stock, but it's not fully. It's not the biggest. It's not the AMC. It's not the GME. But this thing opening up today up almost 20% now. It's pretty wild, pretty crazy rip. I don't think I'm going to sell anything yet. But
no, I mean, going back to kind of like short-term versus long-term, I think here in the, in the meantime, in the short term, if we can hang above this $13 level, I think we could see it rip all the way back up to like previous highs of 17, 16 bucks. I like this in a chart when you see some kind of a long bottom, some consolidation down here. But as long as if it drops a bunch today by the end of the day, then okay, maybe the trade's over. But if it hangs where it's at now or even inches up a little bit higher, I like it all the way to 16, 17 easy.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I know Daniel's throwing in the fundamentals in the chat. Wish is a good company, almost $2 billion in cash. They do burn a lot of money every quarter. But yeah, they do have a lot of cash, right? They're a very low debt company. And, they got some growth under their belt. So it'll be interesting to see where this company continues to move. But yeah, it's coming off a really nice low at like 7 all-time low and coming up from there.
Yeah, and just to give everyone rundown of what's going down on the show today. So here in a few minutes, we've got my boy Raznick Dave joining us. This kid's really impressive. He's got his own site. So I'm excited to talk to him, see what he's doing. And then at 12:30, we have Optino's CEO, Peter Miller, on. Again, another interesting interview. So here in the meantime, while we're waiting for Raznick to join us, what's everyone looking at? Throw me some tickers in the chat. We'll get them pulled up on the chart. I want to know what everyone's trading on this Monday. Oh, Drew, you're back.
I am. Anything you're looking at?
Besides, okay, so I do have an open trade right now in Win, Wynn Casinos. We talked about this the other day on the show, some kind of Vegas trades for the summer. And that's kind of my thesis behind it, is just that this summer Vegas will continue to be popping. People are, antsy to travel, antsy to go on vacation with their friends. So Vegas has been a hot spot. I have open calls on Wynn right now at $130 is my strike. And this is for, here, I'm on the 5-minute right now. Let me go back to the daily. They don't expire until like mid-July, so I'm just going to try to like hang on to them for a little bit. My whole thing with this, Drew, is I'm looking long-term for Wynn to get back at its pre-COVID levels. 194, I don't see any reason why the company should be trading at such a discount right now. And yeah, I think right now, looking at the chart, is a good time to get into it, try to ride it back up here. My price target would be at about 180.
Yeah, that looks like a good trade. You said you had the 130 calls?
I had 130 calls expiring in mid-July, I believe July 16th.
Okay, so you're almost like at the money there. It's like trading around 126 right now. Yeah, you definitely could get in the money. Did you pick those up when it was pretty low? Like, what was that, a month ago or whatnot?
No, I picked them up actually last week. So let me see here. Maybe like get zoomed in here. Maybe like right around here. It was pretty much at where it's at right now. So the contracts themselves are pretty even, but I'm holding on to them. I'm waiting for like a nice leg up. I'm gonna try to sell them around like up here at like 135 or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good trade. Wynn's a pretty good company. They got a lot of things in Vegas. They actually got some things in China as well. I believe a lot of their business is done there. So diverse locations, and should be interesting to see kind of how Vegas does come back. I'll be there in August, so I'll have to let you know.
You're gonna be in Vegas in August, you said?
Yeah. So.
Well, yeah, that will be. You'll have to let me know kind of if it seems packed. See if I should stay into my trade or get out.
For sure. I know we got some other tickers thrown in the chat right here. I saw ENG. That's been up 12%.
Let me get ENG pulled up real quick. We had our longtime favorite Power Hour guest Jack Hurley came on and pitched ENG like way back in the day. And after he pitched it, I think it was like back here, he pitched it at like $3. We saw a huge run up to like 9. Seen it get kind of crushed on the way down. I believe they are in some sort of like the hydrogen energy space. Let's see the overview. Mm-hmm. ENG Global Corp engages in providing engineering and professional services to the energy industry. Yeah, that's right. So they're like building plants for other companies. Definitely an interesting play. Yep, here's some stuff about the hydrogen plant. I don't really have any like insight onto how I feel about this in the short term versus the long term, but I do know in the past, anytime Jack Hurley's given us a trade, it's ended up working out. I assume he probably trimmed some of his position up here, though.
Yeah. I know he's a lot of positions. He's doing a lot of these very small cap stocks that he's trying to kind of snipe. And then, if they do rally, he'll definitely trim, get out, and look for more positions. So I don't think it's, a bad trade at all, or maybe right now if you're looking to get in, but definitely do your research. I know the company, they had to delay some things and push some things back. So just keep that in mind as well.
Pulling Wish back up real quick. Mike Wisdom in the chat is saying the company is still a POS. At the end of the day, if you can make a trade off of some of these companies, whether they're a good company or not, at the end of the day, if you can trade them, you can trade a chart, you can make some money off of it. And it'll be interesting to see. This is like not a company that I necessarily love long term. I do, you hear horror stories of people like ordering something from there, never getting it, or when the good does arrive, the good is like faulty. But if people get a hang of this, when I say people, Reddit, Twitter, get a hang of this and get it up to like $16-17, I definitely see that could happen this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe they have a pretty substantial short interest coming in, so could see some more volatility, especially if these shorts hold.
Mr. Raznick joining us. How we doing?
Yeah, I gotta get your energy going, man. Got a big day in the market today, Aaron Bree.
I know it's not, Mondays are beautiful in that the market's back open. We're seeing a nice little green day after Friday. We needed it. I needed it,
Yeah.
at least in my portfolio.
So I'm seeing green in my usual suspects, but seeing red in the crypto world, baby. Red in the crypto world. My GBTC down 6%. My Voyager down enough. VYGVF. My usual suspects like like I said, 6 and 60. We're still marching there. I own a bunch of shares and we're marching. TAST is over 6. Happy with that. Molson, TAP up. My Sun Communities, SUI up. HAYW, CZR, Caesars, ASO. So I got a lot of the ups. Leslie Pool Supply, Ford, Win, but hurting in crypto today, dudes.
Yeah, crypto market got crushed overnight. Woke up to Ethereum and Bitcoin both down about 8%. Of course, some of the favorite crypto stocks, SOS, Mara, they're all getting wrecked too. SOS down 7.5% right now. Wow. But Raz, look at this one. Are you still in what is it? BGFV, Big Five?
No, I'm not in that. Remember, I got out way too early.
Way too early.
Oh, that's down. So it was at 32, but I bought that at 180, sold at 250. We went to 32. I tried to get Drew into it at 2. He said I was wrong, and it is now at 32 something. But now it's at 26. I got out at 250, so I messed that one up big time.
Yeah, but it's up almost 5% today, and this is a big reason why. So if we pull up SWBI, that's Smith & Wesson brands. Smith & Wesson is up 19% today.
Why?
Because gun plays are in right now, Mr. Raznick. People are buying up all the guns and ammo that they can. I don't know why, but they are. And so Big Five, of course, is getting a nice little boost from that gun play because some of these other retailers like Dick's, Walmart kind of stopped selling guns, but Big Five did not. So they're a sporting goods store. You get the outdoor sports, the pools, all that, but then also the gun play.
Yeah, the pools are good. Pools are good. I mean, that's hot sector. I still think Eli is a buy, by the way. I know we're at 32, 34 on the thing. We're up from 8 when we bought it. 33. I still think it's a buy. It's looking good. From my calls to various dealers across the country, Eli Callaway made a great move. Last year they bought up all the grip that they could and shafts. A lot of suppliers like TaylorMade or vendors cannot service the demand. However, Callaway with their epic driver that's truly epic. I should hear a sound alert for that, but okay, you guys aren't with it. Soundboard, Luke's not here, no soundboard. Okay, so Callaway has truly defied the market by buying up the grips and shafts when they were afraid they wouldn't be available. It's a very smart move. For my calls to various dealers, I called about 11, maybe 12. I'm seeing a lot of sell through on the Callaway drivers. I'm seeing Topgolf pretty busy. Callaway irons busy. With Phil Mickelson being more in the media, it's helped. So I think we may see a 40 level on Callaway. I haven't dug my toes in yet in a big way because at the 33.50, I look to see could it drop down to below 30. So I have a little bit, but I haven't gone in the way I normally go in on a position. And so because this could fall to that 30 level, then I'll buy big. But right now, and then, Ram, as Jay Rice has mentioned, John Ram using Eli. And there's just a lot of momentum behind Eli. So I think people are missing the mark on it. I think you'll see it above 40 relatively soon or next earnings date. If you had been, we can look at the next earnings date through Benzinga Pro. But if you guys are listening to the show, the 230 of you, slam that like. Let's see if we can get to 75 likes and go from there.
Yes, sir. I do like the Eli, the Callaway play. I think that Topgolf move was just a beautiful business decision. They scooped that up for cheap at the beginning of COVID. All right, Jason, but And
then Money Mitch alerted me that he was at Dick's. I guess he works there on the weekends doing the giving away the gift cards.
Yep.
He said that it was his store that he works at was pretty busy. It was packed when he was there this weekend. It was busiest that he's seen. He doesn't really work there, but he wants to work there. He likes sports a lot. He used to be a baseball player, so he wants to get closer to sports. So that's why. But yeah, I agree. Sports is real. Golf has never seen the demand it has seen this year and last year. So if there's other ways to play golf, let us know because I would like to be aware. People don't
Well,
want
there's Ticker Golf, which is Astronet Holdings. They own Titleist. I do
like
say
that too.
I do like Callaway more than Ticker Golf right now, and it's because of that Top Golf play.
Yeah, I like that because people these days aren't really going on like these vacations or camping trips. They're golfing. They're used to being home all day, so now they want to get out of the house, but they don't necessarily want to go on vacation for weeks. They want to go play a 4-hour round of golf, buy some Callaways, get some swing analyzers, and there you go. So I'm taking it to the bank. I bought my first position, and then I will increase over time. All right, I know you have some guests. You guys, if you're listening, hit the like button. You got a good crew here. You got Aaron. You got Drew. Money Mitch is in the background, which is cool. So just give them a like. They're working hard and share with your social. And I will let them take it away.
Smash the like. Yeah, and speaking of baseball, you mentioned it earlier, talking about Mitch. I saw Josh won MVP for his team, so congrats to Josh.
Yeah, that was a funny thing. He did have like an 882 batting average.
I heard 882. That's insane.
Yeah, and they gave a certificates to everyone on the team, and then like, okay, we're done. And Josh's face, like, I didn't get anything. Like the one player that didn't get anything, and then they gave him the MVP. The thing that I got a little emotional. It was because his team was so supportive of him getting it. You know, he's a team player, teaching some of the newer kids that were playing because it was a lot of this was like the rec league and a lot of new players, and they were very supportive. You know, so that was cool.
Got it. All right. Well, Jason, stick around for our guest coming up right now, Raznick Dave. He's a really impressive kid. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and bring him on.
Thank you.
Raznick, how's it going?
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So everyone out there in Zinger Nation, this is my buddy Raznick Dave. Raznick's a really impressive kid. He runs his own site. I'm going to get it pulled up here right now. So while I'm doing that, Raznick, can you just go ahead and give the audience some background on you, how you got into stocks, what your website is, etc.?
Yeah, well, I started trading about a year ago. I've always had an interest in stocks. My dad knows a lot about investing, but I've always told him, hey, teach me about stocks. And he's always told me, focus on your studies. I got too much going on. But since the last year now, he started teaching me a lot. I've been reading a lot of articles and teaching myself a lot as well. And also educating myself on patterns and how to look at stock charts. And so that I made this website back around in February. And I have a free newsletter where I teach people and help people learn as I learn. And it's basically for young adults or new traders that are wanting to trade. So then in the newsletter, I don't give stock recommendations. I just teach about stock patterns and I highlight stock charts in the newsletter. So then they can go apply the patterns to their own stocks and they can make their decisions whether they should buy their own stocks or not.
Got it. And so I do have the site pulled up. I'm dropping the link in the chat. That's RPM
Cool.
Assets. Really impressive, not only like what you're getting into, but also just that you have built your own site, kind of taking that upon yourself. How old are you?
I'm 16. I'm going to be a junior next year.
Wow. So you and Drew here are about the same age.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I'm a little bit older, maybe a year or two. But yeah, that's awesome, man. So when you look at a chart, what are you looking for? Are there any charts that you're really dying to show us today? Are there any stocks that you think have the potential to run or dive, or what kind of stocks do you look for, and what type of charts?
Yeah. Whenever I see charts on social media or on my feed, I'll go look at them deeper, and on my TD Ameritrade account, I'll look at the stock, and then I'll look and see if I see any patterns or a potential buy point, and I'll go from there. Recently, I got out of Roblox. That was a stock I was recently in, so that we can highlight that one as well. We can look at that. But yeah, that's basically what I do. I just look at stocks, see if I see any patterns, and then go from there.
Okay.
Yeah. And then so that's when you're looking like at a specific chart, kind of what you're looking for. How do you find like the stocks that you are going to start looking at?
If they just come up on my social media feed or in articles I read, I'll look further into them.
Got
Okay.
it.
What type of? I know you had something about PE there, maybe EV to EBITDA. Are you more on the? I know you talked a lot about charts, so definitely some technical stuff there. Do you also look at the fundamentals? Are you looking at any long-term positions right now? Anything on your mind there?
I'm not looking too much right now. I do look at some fundamentals in my stock patterns, but I'm not looking for too much of that right now.
Okay. And then kind of going back to Roblox, are there any, or what was the indicator that told you to sell? You know, are you someone that really follows like, descending triangles or, just easy support and resistance? What's like the main pattern that you like to use?
Yeah, support and resistance lines, when it keeps on bumping this resistance line over and over again, I can tell that the sellers are going to probably become more exhausted, and I can see a pullback coming. So that's how I made my decision on selling.
Okay. That's awesome. So the newsletter, how long has that been out?
It's been out since February. I send one about weekly to my subscribers, and there's always a different stock chart in each newsletter. And usually each newsletter is a different lesson, whether it's a different pattern or something else happening in the news that I will highlight in the newsletter.
Got it. All right, Zinger Nation. So if you don't smash the like for Drew or I or Raz's picks, smash the like for Raznick Dave. This kid, it's impressive. 16 years old, got his own website, into trading stocks. He does not only the technical analysis on charts, but also fundamentals. Is this something you want to be in long term, Raznick? Like just the investing world, financials, or is this kind of like a little side project for you right now?
Well, we'll see what it takes me, but I definitely have a strong interest in, business and finance. So it'd be great, if I could do this for like a job or wherever it takes me. I love starting young, I just want this skill when I'm older.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely great that you're doing this. Stick with it. We do have another interview coming up in about 5 minutes. We've got a CEO of a publicly traded company on. If you do want to hang out, we can bring you back on after the interview. We can go through some more charts, anything specific that you're trading. So yeah, hang out if you would like to. But yeah, I wanted to bring you on because I'm super impressed by what you're doing. Wanted to let our audience know. What about TikTok? Are you on TikTok at all? Like financial TikTok, any of that stuff?
Yeah, I actually have a following on TikTok. It's not quite for my business. It's at Cars and Stocks. I have about 30,000 followers on that. I post a lot of car videos and motivational videos, so it's not much of a my business page, let's say, but I use it to drive traffic too.
Got it. And where are you located out of?
I'm out of Chicago.
Okay, so you're in Central Time right now, an hour behind us.
Yep.
Well, we're in Detroit, so we're in Motor City, so we definitely have an interest in cars as well. We recently started doing some more car reviews. We just had a McLaren. We have a video up of that, of us driving around the McLaren doing reviews on it. So maybe we'll need to get you on our TikTok. Maybe make a couple TikToks for us.
Definitely, I can help set that up as well.
Yep. All right, Raznick. We'll hang out and we'll bring you back on in about 20 minutes or so. Maybe we can do some more, just see what other tickers you're looking at outside of Roblox. We can go through the chart, kind of what you're looking at.
All right.
Nice meeting you, man.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
The chat is going nuts about Wish. Prison keeps on bringing it up. Rod, Yost. Guys, we talked about this earlier. It is mooning. We talked about this on Friday. I brought it up. But what were you saying, Aaron?
Yeah, no, I wanted to talk more about Wish too. Like I said, if it hangs out at this range, if it goes up a little bit higher, I think we could easily see it leg up to these previous high. Oh, whoa. Is that right? Did we have Wish all the way at $30 earlier back in January?
So when it IPO'd, I believe it was in the 20 range or whatnot, went up. Now it's just kind of sold off, right? So it is at a nice low.
I do have to say, if I'm looking at a company like long term, like I like the company, I do, especially for a tech company like a growth stock, I'd like to see Wish spend a little bit more money in other areas outside of just advertising. Like pump back some into R&D. But like I said, I'm not too worried about the fundamentals of this company. I'm more looking at like what it's going to do this week. And we're either going to see a big drop off from here at $13 back down to the 8 level, 7 level. And I think if we did see that, it would start happening today. If we see it stay up here, I think tomorrow is when we could really see it fly, Drew.
Yeah, that would be absolutely nuts.
Do you still have open calls on it, or how are you trading it?
I just got shares. So I got shares in 2 of my accounts. I had a little bit more this morning. Nothing crazy, nothing really substantial, but happy to see that's making a nice move here.
And Wish is the jersey sponsor of the Los Angeles Lakers. Did you know that, Drew?
Yeah, it's in the top corner, right? I was thinking about that when I bought the stock. I was like, they're thrown under as like a really crappy company that, kind of sells a lot of garbage, but they're very legit in my eyes. They have like this almost Alibaba, Amazon, like, in between, where it's, not as a tough experience as maybe an AliExpress, where, you're like maybe working with these people from China. It's maybe just an easy click and buy, and it's out your door in a month or two. But it's an interesting company for sure, and I'm excited to see where this thing goes.
Yeah, well, maybe you will need to, if you make some money on this trade, you'll need to get a Lakers jersey that has the Wish logo on it.
For sure. I'm not opposed at all. But they're not doing too hot this year, so maybe I'll have to look into some other jerseys. Yep.
All right, Drew, well, we do have an exciting company coming up, Optinos. The ticker is OPTN. I'm excited for that. We're going to go ahead and bring their CEO, Peter Miller, on here in a second. Do you have any questions for the company, or are you just going to?
Yeah, I don't know too much about it. I just learned more about it today. So we'll see where it goes, and I'll definitely ask some questions as well.
All right, yeah, we'll have you hop in for a question or two. But yeah, let's get straight into it. Peter, how's it going?
It's going great. How you guys doing?
Good. Thank you for taking time out of your busy Monday to join us here on Power Hour, Zinger Nation. Everyone out there in the chat, say what's up to Peter. So Optinos, do you want to start by just giving our audience a little bit of background on the company, what it is y'all do?
Yeah, I actually got involved with the company back in about 2010, and the company is sort of built off a really genius idea to get drug much higher and deeper in the nasal cavity than traditional intranasal delivery. And the obvious next question is, so what? So what if you can get drug high and deep in the nasal cavity? There's real advantages if you understand sort of what you can take advantage of by high and deep delivery in the nasal cavity. And we think sort of the killer app of the technology, if you will, is to treat a disease in the nose called chronic rhinosinusitis. It's a very big market, affects about 30 million people in the United States. And up until our entry into the market, pretty much the only thing that worked in the treatment of this disease was surgery. And I don't know if either of you guys have chronic rhinosinusitis?
Is that when you have to get like a deviated septum surgery, or?
Deviated septum is a part of it, but that's just a small piece of the broad audience of chronic rhinosinusitis. As I said, it affects 30 million people in the United States, 10 million being actively treated by any physician. About 7 million people cumulatively have had surgery, about 600,000 surgeries per year. And up until our entry into the market, there wasn't a lot to really help these patients. We have this simple idea. It's a very simple concept of taking a really good drug that only works topically and getting it back behind a whole series of structures in the nose so the drug can actually work, because it only works where you put it. And we have a device that is ingenious of getting drug very high and deep where this disease is. So a very simple idea. And behind this product, Xhance, we launched the product first full year in 2018, did about $30 million of revenue that year. 2019, first full year of launch. 2020, obviously, we had impact of COVID, still grew the business by over 60% in revenue. So despite our market was down about 30%. We grew our business about 60%. And this year we've guided that we're going to produce at least minimally 80 million of revenue. So again, growing another 60% in a sort of still what is up until now a reasonably challenging market from a COVID perspective.
Yeah, and definitely a lot of focus with COVID the last year or so on really just breathing in general, right? And I know. So we've been doing I've been doing some research. I was reading a book actually talking about how important it is to be breathing through your nose as opposed to your mouth.
Yeah,
it's
James Nestor, right? James
Yep,
Nestor called Breath. Great book.
That's the book. Yep, and reading it, it was just fascinating, all the stats that he presents about how many people are breathing through their mouth as opposed to the nose, and all the damaging side effects of this. So this, your company and the drug that you guys are making is something that can kind of help alleviate all the people that aren't able to breathe through their nose, right?
Yeah, and this disease, chronic rhinosinusitis, is not really well understood. We actually call it sort of the Rodney Dangerfield of diseases because it doesn't have high mortality, means that it doesn't necessarily kill people, but it has what we call high morbidity, which is a very significant impact on how people function. And this disease, by the way, affects people in a similar way as asthma, COPD, congestive heart failure, so very serious diseases. The quality of life impact this disease has is very similar. Our product, by the way, doesn't work just a little bit better than conventional intranasal delivery. It really works dramatically differently. And you can actually see on the screen there why it works so well. Conventional intranasal delivery only deposits drug really on the front part of your nose because there's a whole series of structures in your nose that make delivery very difficult. Using what we call exhalation delivery systems, using what I call the magic of the breath to sort of guide the medicine high and deep in the nasal cavity, we produce what you see in the image on the right there, which is very broad distribution of drug throughout the nasal cavity. And why it matters in the treatment of this disease is where you see in the image on the right, which is exhalation delivery versus the image on the left, which is intranasal delivery, traditional, you see much broader drug deposition. And as a result, patients get a lot better when they're on our medicine. We actually can compare how our product works to surgery. We actually produce a reasonably similar outcome as surgery in terms of getting patients better from an outcome standpoint. And obviously much, much less expensive than surgeries, which can cost $16,000 to $25,000 a year. So really a brilliant way to treat the people who have this disease. Very easy to do. And as I said, building a really nice business right now with an initial indication, which I think, in drugs, you sort of get one indication, which sort of allows you to treat a certain group of patients. We have a broadening of our label. So we're getting a second indication to treat a population that's about 10 times as big as the initial population that we're treating. So despite the growth that we've achieved to date, we believe we're going to have, the opportunity for really significant growth in the very near future.
Yeah, and then Peter, speaking of growth, so I see that the Xhance total prescriptions grew 70% from 2019 to 2020. What do you think investors can kind of expect moving forward? Similar numbers or higher growth, lower growth?
Well, this year, as I said, on a revenue basis, which, the prescriptions and the revenues stay reasonably close, if you will, because the pricing doesn't vary that much year to year. But this year, we've guided 80 million of revenue off of a $48.5 million year last year, just about 50 million. So revenue growth and reasonably comparable prescription growth in excess of 60%. And as I said earlier, that's prior to the expansion of our label. Which we are completing the trials. We expect to have data from the first of a pivotal trial in the first quarter of next year, data from our second trial in the first half of next year, which means that we'd have the launch of that product or that indication potentially in 2023. So, we expect to see very nice growth, continuing across this year and into next year with the potential for really explosive growth in 2023 behind the potential new indication for the product.
Got it. So it sounds like investors have a lot to look forward there. Ramon in the chat is asking how many people are affected. I believe you said 30 million, with about a third of that, 10 million, being actively treated. And then he said, do you have any competitors? So I'd imagine the competition is mainly the surgeries. And then this is like a, other measure to avoid the surgery. Is that correct?
Well, that's very insightful. I mean, the competition really is traditional intranasal sprays, which, as I said earlier, they don't really work. So typically people start with a product like Flonase. You're probably familiar with Flonase, but 75% of physicians and 80% of patients recognize that the product doesn't work for chronic rhinosinusitis. It actually works reasonably well for allergic rhinitis. So that's sort of first line therapy. We actually recently got recognized by a leading group of experts from 6 major sort of medical societies, the American Rhinological Society, the big allergy societies, the experts in treating this disease. And their recommendation was start on an intranasal spray, but if you fail on that therapy, you go to exhalation delivery system, which is Xhance, before surgery, which, as you said, that's really the only thing that worked up until recently. But the biologics, you're probably familiar with biologics, have also entered in to our disease area, by the way, at a cost of about $40,000 per patient per year. So very expensive to treat. We cost, by the way, about $800 per patient per year, if you will. So order of magnitude, very different in terms of the cost to the overall healthcare system. But the biologics, as I said, have sort of come in as a, quote unquote competitor. We really don't consider them a competitor, however, because if you think about where we fit in the treatment paradigm, we're for patients who, as I said, really should, the experts are saying Xhance should be used prior to surgery and prior to these biologics, which are really for the very, very sick patients.
Right. And yeah, I mean, I can't emphasize enough in the chat. If anyone's interested in these sort of diseases, what's going on nasally, read this book, Breath by James Nestor, because it gives a lot of insight into the company. I'm glad you're familiar with that, Peter, or not into the company, but into those diseases. And where are you guys located?
We're right outside of Philadelphia, up just north of the Philadelphia area.
Okay, so we're in Detroit, so in the Midwest, but I'm from Missouri initially, and there's a lot, at least where I'm from, like allergies. Like there's a lot of people that just have chronic allergies to where really, yeah, a lot of that breathway is impeded and people don't breathe well through their nose. So definitely something that, hopefully your product will be able to alleviate.
This disease, by the way, as you said, it actually affects people year round. The person who has chronic rhinosinusitis, they suffer, pretty severely 4 to 6 months of the year. It is exacerbated, as you're bringing up, by seasonal allergies. And interestingly, when that happens, people get really sick. They go to see a doctor. They typically get an infection. And they often get an antibiotic, which antibiotics are used very broadly in the United States. We don't have this data yet, but we're going to get data. We believe that if you can keep the inflammation from really overtaking the nose, if you will, you potentially could prevent all of these infections and therefore all this antibiotic use. So we do see a little bit of a seasonality because of the allergens in the air. But frankly, as I said, people suffer from this disease year round. It's really a horrible disease. If you know anybody who has it, it's not fun.
Yeah, and actually one of my favorite parts in that book is when he does the experiment where he clogs his nose for like 10 straight days. And they do, the doctors and everything take all of his vitals. They see the difference really of like how your body's operating when you're breathing through your mouth versus just through your nose. So definitely, like you said, like with the Rodney Dangerfield not getting the respect, there's so much emphasis on all these things in the medical field, and correct breathing is oftentimes overlooked.
By the way, we actually were talking to one of the major health insurers in the United States, one of the largest health insurers, and they did a very interesting analysis looking longitudinally at the cost of a patient, if you will. So not just by disease, but what does this patient cost in total? And interestingly, if you put those patients in deciles, the top 5 deciles of chronic rhinosinusitis patients are among the most expensive patients in this insurer because they have comorbidities. The inability to breathe through your nose causes sleep issues. Actually, it has real issues with depression in terms of comorbidity because people just feel lousy all the time. So you're insightful to point out, and James Nestor, New York Times bestselling author, also pointed out, if you can improve nasal functioning, not only does it have the potential to sort of reduce surgical costs, reduce the cost of going to biologics, but it has a potential enormous sort of health benefit beyond just sort of what you would think. As you probably read in the book, actually, people who who could breathe through their nose, who formerly could not, actually lowered blood pressure in this small little study that this guy did. So it's interesting. And as I said, we think we have a really novel treatment option, very affordable, not only for the healthcare system, but for patients. And we actually produce reasonable revenue on a prescription basis. We net about $200 per prescription per patient. We've sort of figured out the model, if you will, of getting insurance coverage. We actually have 80% of plans have Xhance as a covered benefit. And the huge majority of our patients pay pretty much nothing for our product. 80% of patients pay zero out-of-pocket costs with the sort of patient assistance program we put together. So the product not only really works, affordable for the healthcare system, therefore we have broad payer coverage, and also very affordable for patients, which is why you're seeing the growth numbers that we've achieved over the past few years.
Yeah, I mean, if the treatment's comparable, I don't know why anyone would opt in for an expensive surgery where you're going to have, recovery time and all that versus just having a nasal spray that actually works, which I'm sure a lot of people are turned off by nasal sprays like Flonase and stuff when they don't work properly.
No, you've hit the nail on that. And we said we have really exciting news with this expert consensus on the treatment paradigm I described a minute ago. And as a little company, you work hard. We have about 100 salespeople out in the market detailing doctors. But this publication that came out very recently was in the major publication of the major journal of one of the leading ENT societies. And it basically, as I said earlier, puts us right in a step care paradigm, which we think is very important for us, sort of getting recognized by the experts as important in the treatment of this disease. So we're very excited about the prospects for the back half of the year behind that new news. And as I said earlier, probably the biggest news is yet to come with clinical trial data on a broadening of our label, which, as I said earlier, expands our market by about 10-fold, So we're feeling very, very good about our company and our business and everything all the way around right now.
So yeah, you mentioned the market opportunity. Do you know what the total market opportunity is for treating the different diseases that?
Yeah, sure. And I can explain it based on, so our first indication is for what's called nasal polyps. And if you look at nasal polyp sufferers, so chronic rhinosinusitis presents in two groups. About half the population gets, about a third of the population gets nasal polyps, and about 2/3 does not. The FDA calls the first group, the indication for the first group, nasal polyps. They call the indication for the second group chronic sinusitis. So we believe nasal polyps enables a launch in the ENT allergy specialty segment. It's a little bit more of a nuanced indication. And in that market, there's about 1 million people who have nasal polyps being treated by ENT allergy specialists. I said earlier that our net per patient per year is about $800. So you take your $800 per patient per year times that million, you get roughly $1 billion market opportunity in that segment. Now, we do get some use outside of nasal polyps in the sort of broader chronic sinusitis market in that population. But the broader population, the CS market, there's about 10 million people being treated by any physician. As I said earlier, 10 million patients versus the million patients being treated with nasal polyps. So the market opportunity there, you take your 10 million patients times $800 per patient per year, you get a very significant market opportunity in excess of, approaching $8 billion in terms of market opportunity. It's part of the reason we believe the product really has potential to be in excess of $1 billion. Because in my experience, I've actually run major pharmaceutical companies, actually built my own company from scratch. In essence, I was one of the companies that was operating medical clinics inside retail pharmacy staffed by nurse practitioners. So I built that company very successfully and sold it to Walgreens. But in my experience, it's not unusual when you have a product as good as our product is relative to other products in the market, that achieving about a 20% or 30% share is not unusual. So you take your 8 billion TAM, achieve a 20% market share, which, as I said, in my experience is not unusual. You have a product, well in excess of $1 billion, get to a 30% share, you could have a $2 billion product opportunity. And I'll tell you, based on our experience with physicians and patients, we believe we're well on our way to achieving that.
Wow, yeah. So that sounds like you have kind of ambitious goals as far as achieving a 25-30% market cap, that'd be, or market opportunity of the 8 billion, that would be huge. And then what about for people that, so for people that do have chronic sinusitis, so getting sinus infections, whatnot, oftentimes doctors will refer them to get their tonsils taken out, correct?
That's a related, it sometimes is related, actually more common is eustachian tube dysfunction. But the airways are connected. So, some of the problem that people have is that because the nose, which is, by the way, it's not what you see in the front of your face, it's what's behind it. There's epithelium that is in the nasal cavity that's much like the epithelium in the lung, because you breathe through your nose and you breathe through your mouth into your lungs. That's all one system, if you will. So it's part of what we were talking about earlier. As you get complications in the nose, you also tend to have complications elsewhere. There's high comorbidity with asthma, with chronic rhinosinusitis. So as you pointed out, I'm delighted you read James Nestor's book. It's a great book. We actually had, James Nestor was actually interviewed by people from the American Rhinological Society because of the criticality of learning to breathe through your nose, sort of educating people on that. But there's a real relationship between breathing properly through your nose and the rest of how your body functions.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we keep referring back to that book, but I can't think of a book that I've read recently where I think about it more like on a daily basis. If I ever catch myself breathing through my mouth, I think back to that book. And so, yeah, we heard that word a lot over the last year, comorbidities, just talking about other kind of one health problem leading to another, having multiple. And it was fascinating to me just how many derived from that, from not being able to breathe properly. You get sleep apnea, so you're not sleeping as well. Then your blood pressure is higher, and then this, and then that. And it all starts with...
Well, and you can imagine, by the way, you have the benefit of being able, most people have the benefit of being able to breathe through your nose. And it's really just training your body. People, become mouth breathers for lots of reasons. So you can train yourself to breathe through your nose. But think about the people who are so congested, they literally cannot breathe through your nose. And that's where our product comes in. Our product, significantly reduces that congestion, significantly reduces the sinus pain and pressure that people feel. Many of these patients lose their sense of smell and taste. About a third of people who have chronic rhinosinusitis have impact on taste and smell. So it's just not a fun disease, truly not a fun disease.
Yeah, something that Nestor says in that book is he says mouth breathing begets more mouth breathing. So by not using your nose to breathe and you're using your mouth, then it will start clogging up those airways even further in your nose. It's like, use it or lose it, one of those muscles. I worry, though, you might upset some plastic surgeons with your product, because then people will have less of a reason to go to plastic surgery and get it covered by insurance because of the medical.
What's interesting is the majority of ENTs who do these surgeries, a significant portion of the practice is a sort of medical treatment, not just surgical treatment, because most patients don't want to get the surgery. These surgeries are not fun. And they also don't cure the disease. The problem here is inflammation high and deep in the nasal cavity. We treat the inflammation with a really effectively topically acting steroid, but surgery doesn't solve the problem. So most people, after a few years, the inflammation comes back and the symptoms come back. So it's why we think, as I said, we're just a really novel, interesting treatment option for the disease.
Yeah, I mean, again, like this, it's a serious problem. So if you're able to fix it without doing the expensive surgery, I can imagine that it will become more and more of a popular product and a popular way to treat that. So yeah, Peter, thank you for joining us. Is there anything else you want to leave our investors with? Anything that they can look forward to over the next year, maybe the year out?
Yeah, well, as I said, the two biggest things to look forward to is in the back half of this year, we think we could create even further acceleration for our business behind these guidelines that I mentioned, sort of this step care paradigm that was released by a group of experts. So very excited about that. But probably most importantly is this data that's coming in the back half of the year. Our stock has currently significantly been shorted, as a lot of companies in our position, single product, pharmaceutical companies. I'm sure there's a thesis of short the launch of many of these short sellers. And, we're looking forward to the next year because, if we continue our revenue curve at the rate that it's going now, and obviously I'm not guiding that we're going to, I'm saying if we were to do that, we're going to get to cash flow break even from our operations with a very significant indication on the way. So we're feeling great about the company. I just couldn't be more excited. We got a great product. We got a great team. We got a great strategy. So appreciate you having me on.
Of course, and solving a real problem. Yeah, we had someone in the chat, Golden Age Recordings, point out the float that's being shorted. I wasn't going to bring it up, but you did, so.
Well, by the way, it's part of the reason our share price is depressed. But, I always tell the team, as frustrating as that is, our focus is on building the business. And in my experience, I've run lots of companies now. I'm a lot older than you guys. But in my experience, if you have a great product with the right strategy, a great team, stay focused on producing results, and that's what we've been doing over the past couple of years, things take care of themselves, and that's the team's focus right now.
Beautiful. Awesome. All right, Peter. Well, thank you for joining us. Stay in contact. Anytime you have news, anything like that, reach back out to us. We'd love to have you back on. We'd love to cover the news. And yeah, cool company. The ticker is.
Thanks so much. I actually enjoyed listening to your show before. I hope you get that 16-year-old back on. He was really an interesting young person. Boy, I wish I was that smart when I was 16. I'll tell you.
I know we brought a few kids on that run their own thing and they have their own website, and I just think back, I'm like, geez, what was I doing at 16?
I wasn't doing that, I'll tell you that. So.
And look at you now, running a public company. So I guess we all have hope.
Well, hey, thanks so much. Good luck with everything, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, Peter. All right, enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, take care.
All right, guys, that was Optinose CEO Peter joining us. I got Drew back. Drew, let's take you off mute.
Oh.
How we doing?
Good.
What do you think of the company?
Yeah, I was blown away. I didn't really understand the product too well, so I kind of had to step out, give myself a little something to eat. But yeah, first, I didn't really understand the product or the market, but after, you really understood it in that Breathe book. I think my mom's actually read it. She talked to me about, always breathing through my nose. She always pushes that on me. And it does seem like a very serious problem. My brother, he can only breathe through one of his nostrils. So I know someone who, I don't know if he's got.
They talk about that in the book. I literally cannot emphasize this book or recommend the book enough. So I'm glad that he was familiar with it, because it's they talk about basically the whole thing that their company is working to fix. But yeah, it's one of those books, you read it, it changes your life. I'll throw the link in the chat if anyone's interested. And we got Money Mitch.
What's up? I heard breathing, man. Believe it or not, I've been working on my breathing also. I've been practicing for another 14er. If you guys don't know what it is, that's a mountain over 14,000 feet. So, with that being said, especially when you're in altitude, you really need to be breathing in through your nose, because if not, what you're going to do is you're just going to start literally kind of poisoning yourself by breathing in through your mouth. A lot of people don't understand this, but I know long-term runners also do this and focus on this too. Let's say if you're cross country or in track, or if you had a bad coach like I did in baseball, you might need to learn this process of breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. It really does help you, especially if you're going for long distances and anything athletic. You definitely need to be bringing in the correct oxygen.
Yeah, one of the things they did an experiment in the book we were talking about in the interview, where they had Olympic rowers on a rowing machine, and they had them breathe through their nose and then their mouth. And when they breathed through their mouth, they had to breathe twice as many times each minute while they were rowing, versus in their nose they were breathing 20 times a minute. In their mouth they were breathing 40 times a minute.
Yeah,
so you actually get more oxygen, what you're talking about, Mitch, when you need to retain all that oxygen you need to on a 14er. So I'm silly, and I actually thought, because when you're hiking a 14er, right, you start at say 8,000 or 9,000 feet, and then you hike the rest up. I thought you did the whole 14,000 feet.
Oh, bro, if you ever done 3,000 feet in elevation, just 3,000. It doesn't even matter if you're going up to 14,000. Just the change in altitude could give you headaches, can make you kind of queasy. The body's not used to changing that much. One of the things is that, especially in 14,000, the oxygen is already thin up there. I mean, you're literally above clouds. You see the clouds underneath you.
So when you're doing your next 14er, where you're starting at? Which one is it, first of all?
Mount Burstash.
Okay.
So I did Mount Evans last year, so I'm looking to do the one that's right across it, literally right across it. So I'm going to go do the other one up. Let's take a look really quickly at the market before we get on out of here. I know we got 3 minutes left for the next show. I wanted to take a look here at some of the stocks that are moving. Today, I called out big tech. I said, watch the big tech. Look what we got up today. Microsoft, nice move. Google with a nice move up. That's up over 1%. Visa up over 1.5%. That one's an interesting move. Also, with Visa, you could kind of look at, let's say, how PayPal's doing. One that's been really impressive, Shopify. That hasn't turned around, guys. This is a monster. I don't know if you've seen this move, Drew, lately, but look at Shop's move. Woo! That's a move right there, especially for a high-priced stock. Those stocks don't move that fast. Snap looking good today. Look at that daily chart. Not a bad looking push off of that kind of trend line look. You can take a look at that. Apple having a good day. It recovered. It keeps coming towards this trend line and recovering, looking well now, starting to push back up. Really, this is all about if we look at the market, right? If we look at the overall market, take a look at the SPY, we'll see what happened today. A recovery, gap down, and what does it do? It tries to fill the gap, and that's exactly what we got today. The biggest question is, are we going to get a crack near the close? This is the 5-minute on the SPY. You see how it's been uptrending all the way up. It uptrended, yes, but it went and it filled the gap. That's the only thing that's concerning me a little bit, because if you look at the daily, we had this gap down right here. Now we filled that gap. Now the question is, are we going to get up towards the 621, or if we're going to turn around here and test back down at least closer towards this kind of like 418 area where near that trend line could hit. What are you thinking today? Nice little run up there on the 5-minute. What do you think about the overall market today looking, Drew?
Yeah. Friday was definitely concerning a lot of people. On my Twitter feed, I keep on saying, oh my God, the market's going to crash. Everyone's, that keeps on getting brought up more and more, it seems like. So I think, with commodity prices coming down, bond yields coming up, it'll be interesting to see bond yields going down, bond prices going up. It'll be interesting to see how the market kind of continues to move. And, especially the FOMC meeting or whatever this week, 2023 interest rates, that's when we're going to see our first hike. I think if that is true, market will continue up, but we'll just have to see how inflation kind of continues.
Definitely, to me, just keep your eyes on the Qs. The Qs recovered well and also doing kind of the same kind of look. We want to see this get through. I talked today at 345 level on my daily podcast. Let's see if it gets up there through 345 and doesn't really take a hard crackdown into kind of that 3 o'clock hour. We could come back towards the VWAP. That's not the biggest thing. The biggest thing I don't want to see us go is attack that low, 340.16 today. I said on my podcast, let's hold 342 today. If it even could close above that, we'll be looking good, because one of the things that we'd be doing is we'd be holding the support and going a little bit sideways. A little bit sideways is not a bad action. As long as you can test down, testing down is a good thing. As long as you can test back up towards that resistance, get some volume through, maybe some momentum. All right, guys, we'll definitely keep an eye on that one. One that I have a watch, I was looking to even add today if it got towards my entry, but it turned right back around, was Tesla. I know Luke would kill me if I didn't mention Tesla today. I know he's been watching this one. I'm in it, baby. You guys know it. Money Mitch is in this one. I'm in at 607, looking to add anything below that. Really, I wanted to add on this day that we went to like kind of the 600, but the action right out the gates got me. I couldn't get the red to green move, and it just shot up through that. Today, we pulled back closer towards the 609. I was even looking to maybe get 607, but it didn't even come there, and it reversed right back up there. So that's kind of the level in the sand for me now, 610. Let's let 610 hold on Tesla. If 610 breaks for me, I'll probably get out, guys. But if this continues going for here, I think we could go for a run for 700. Look at the daily chart. We need to get back above this high around 628.90, maybe 630s by the end of the week. So that's what I'll be looking for in Tesla.
Looks like a pretty solid trade, Mitch.
You know it. I don't take many high price stocks, Drew. That's true. Reason why is a lot of times it's going to tie up my capital, right? And so I'm not going to be able to diversify in as many plays. The only time I like to do this is when I feel I have a level to go off of that's close. Because the 600, we went down below it. Now we finally cleared above it. Now I have a level to go off of. Worst comes to worst, it goes back to 600. What I lose, $7. I mean, if it goes to 700, 800, 1,000, I mean, that looks like a good
money.
return. That's called risk and return. That's all I do. Some people call it bottom feeding. Hey, and some people like to eat. They are what they eat, right? I mean, hey, what can I say? Hey, B, what's up, dude?
Well, I'm just waiting for Neil here to get technical started.
Oh, Neil's getting ready.
I don't know where he's at. Maybe
No worries. We got Get Technical right here, dude. We're the technicals.
Let's get technical.
Let's get technical.
Oh, wait. I think we got boys.
You see what happened?
Got him.
You see what happened? We talked too loud, Drew.
Yeah, he heard us. Mitch, good luck on that Tesla trade. I'm kind of whoa.
The dogs are barking.
Dogs are barking. I'm waiting to see kind of what Tesla does here because I want to see if we'll get back up to these previous highs or if it will continue to kind of where'd everyone go? I'm up here alone. I think maybe we could see some more hurt in Tesla in the short term. Long term, I love it back to 800, back to the highs. But right now, I'm staying on the sideline. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, Tesla was a very old position of mine. I actually bought my first shares pre-split around 220. Fortunately, I got out early, and that kind of crushed my soul. So I haven't made a trade on it since. But, it's at an interesting point. It's a really interesting company for sure. They're definitely killing it. That new Plaid is looking like a good car. It's got that PlayStation 5 inside. So you buy a Tesla, comes with a PlayStation 5. That's kind of
Wait, really? I didn't even know that.
Basic. So the chip in it is very similar to like a PlayStation 5. And they're playing what's that game? They're playing it's like a GTA type of game, whatever. In there.
Valorant.
Not Valorant. Oh, it's gonna bother me. It's like some future game. I can't believe
Cyberpunk.
I think it was Cyberpunk. Yeah, it was Cyberpunk. Yeah, they're playing Cyberpunk. I don't like the dash. It was pretty nuts. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely cars of the future. Supercharger network. They gotta up that a little bit, in my opinion. They only have 25,000 worldwide. But it's an awesome car, and we'll see how the sales continue to move. What's your thoughts?
Like I said, I'm just kind of hanging out on the sidelines for right now. I don't think Tesla's dead by any means. I think we'll see that next rip up back to where it was, but I just don't know if it is right now, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So are there any trades other than, what was that? Not RoboBlocks. What were you looking at earlier?
The Win. I was looking at Win.
Win, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the main trade you're in right now?
That is the main trade I'm in right now, Drew. I do got to hop out of this show into the next one, so join us on Get Technical. And maybe we'll talk some more about wins, some more about Roblox.
All righty. Sounds good.
All right, Drew. Thank you for hanging out with us today.
All right. Peace.
Peace.